Chris, always remember one thing. I beat Vince McMahon in court.
Let's hear that story. It's a great one.
No, I did. So that's got to tell you, you don't want to argue with me. My wife can reassure you of that, Chris. My wife will tell you, don't bother.
But this is when he was using your voice on videotapes, right?
Well, it's longer than that. What happened was I got induced. I did Predator, and I did Hunter, and I did Hollywood. Well, all of a sudden, I'm getting royalty checks. When Hunter shows on TV, a check comes to me. When Predator shows, a check comes to me. So I went into Vince and said, Vince, how come everything I do in Hollywood, I get paid royalties, and you're out selling videotapes all over the country of my broadcasts, my matches, and everything about me, and I don't get nothing?
Mm-hmm.
How come Hollywood pays me and you don't? And Vince said, well, I don't pay royalties, which by law, he doesn't have to.
Right.
There's no law that says he's got to do it. Anyway, it stuck in my craw, and every time I would negotiate with him, including when I stated the night I went into the Hall of Fame, the biggest thing I ever did in wrestling was that I made Vince McMahon be the first one to make him deal with an agent. Well, from that point on, too, after he was dealing with my agent, every year my agent would bring up videotape. And every year Vince would say, we don't pay royalties on videotape, which the WWF or E as it is today, they have that right. There's no law. But it still ticked me off to the point I was so angry. I said, I want him to beat me in court on this because it just don't seem right. I own the copyright of my name and likeness. He's making money off it and not paying me a thing for all that he's making. So we went to court. Now, here's where we got him. It was during Discovery. We also sued him under something, and here's what we won on, called quantum merit. Now, what that means is this. Chris, if you decide you want to hire me tomorrow to bring me into wrestling in your group, you and I are going to sit down and we're going to do a negotiation, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, during this negotiation, I am to expect that everything Chris Jericho tells me is the truth. And if Chris Jericho lies to me about something in these face-to-face negotiations, that is quantum merit. That is an argument for the term where you can be victorious in court. You were lied to during the negotiations. Well, during Discovery, we found out that Vince was lying when he said nobody gets paid for videotapes. Hogan was getting paid. Mr. T was getting paid. Cyndi Lauper was getting paid. All the people from the outside entertainment world were getting videotape royalties from the WWE. The only people not getting it were the wrestlers. So we were successful because my attorney, when he had me on the stand, said, Jesse Ventura, if you knew Vince McMahon was paying video royalties to Hulk Hogan, Mr. T, Cyndi Lauper, and all these people were getting videotape royalties, would you have agreed to work without royalties? And I said, absolutely not. I would never have agreed to work had I known they were getting paid and I wouldn't. And that's what won the case. The case was won on quantum merit. Vince lied when he said he didn't pay royalties when the reality was certain people of the hand-picked group were getting royalties. And if he paid me, then guess what? All the boys might jump on board. But it depends if all the boys had a legitimate negotiation with him. See, my agent came and testified, that yes, I brought this up to Vince McMahon, and yes, Vince McMahon told me we don't pay royalties. So I accepted that as WWE policy. Well, it wasn't. It was a lie.
It's interesting, though, because now they don't have DVDs and videotapes anymore. They've put it all onto the network and onto Peacock.
Yeah.
And the boys don't get royalties again.
I know, and I'm thinking about that when the reason he's now sold my royalties, I couldn't touch him on that when Vince initially did it, but I'm looking at it again now because it's now no longer in-house.
Right.
See, he was allowed to use my broadcasts because they were in-house WWE. He has now sold that for money.
Yeah, big money.
I should have been paid some royalties.
Me too.